Today we have Ayse with us, who is currently working at BCG's London office. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And she's done quite a few office transfers during her tenure. So today in this video, we will listen to her and she's going to tell us a lot of things about office transfer opportunities in consulting. Let's get started. All right, Ayse, for those who don't know you, do you want to tell us a bit about your background and how you came about doing a couple of office transfers and all?
Sure. I joined BCG 6.5 years ago in Istanbul office as an associate. Over this last 6.5 years at BCG, I have been at 3 different offices. I've done at least 3 different roles, maybe if not more. Yeah, so I guess I was more entrepreneurial to kind of explore different opportunities within BCG. So my journey in a nutshell is that I joined as an associate after 1 year of banking experience in Istanbul office, and then I stayed there like 3.5 years more or less. Then I transferred to Stockholm office after I became a consultant, and I stayed there 1.5 years. And then I gradually had the feeling that I had my fair share of consulting. Then I started looking for different opportunities within BCG, and I did an internal project for BCG, if you like. It's like as if you're an in-house consultant. And I found my true passion, and that was like with the global diversity, equity, inclusion team. And I worked on formulating our strategy and roadmap for disability inclusion, which is relatively new DE&I pillar for us at BCG compared to like gender equality, LGBTQ plus inclusion, etc. A bit more than a year ago, I have been working on this role. And I really enjoy it.
Take us back to the first day you joined BCG. Have you had it in your mind that you were going to apply for a transfer, or did that happen more organically?
In my case, I did have it in my mind. Personally, I had 2 semesters abroad when I was studying in Turkey, and I loved that experience and like international exposure to different cultures. So even before joining BCG, I knew I would pursue international opportunities. And that was actually one of the very important value proposition for me to join BCG in the first place, because I knew like these opportunities existed. So yeah, I would say I was like really proactive from early on. But then of course, when you first join consulting, you need to establish yourself, build your brand, right? And also there are certain policies around like minimum tenure you should have before transferring to another office, etc. So in that sense, that happened organically. And like how I ended up transferring to Stockholm office and not any other office was super natural and organic. But as a goal and intention, more at a high level, yeah, I always had it in my plan.
Okay, so why don't you then take us through this step by step? Because I have a lot of trainees asking me that, okay, I want to ultimately end up, say, being in the US or in the UK, but then they also know that the market is very competitive.
Yeah.
So they want to start with their home office, right?
Yeah.
So take me through the steps of how, as I join a firm, how can I follow your footsteps and ensure that I land in Stockholm or London?
Like 3 transfers in less than 5 years.
Yeah, here we go. Best practice.
Yeah, no, I mean, a couple of things I think to advise. Number one is, this is again like goes back to building your brand. Like you should have a narrative, because from the company's point of view, yeah, of course they want to give you opportunities, but it should make sense from their business needs point of view, right? So in my case, to make it more concrete, I worked on digital transformation projects and agile transformation projects a couple of years ago, and that was my narrative. I was like, okay, I really like this topic and I want to build my expertise and know-how in this area. And Nordics, specifically our Stockholm office, happened to be one of the strongest offices when it comes to this specific topic. And so that was my narrative, and it did make sense to BCG as well from their business needs point of view, right? So I had a bit of experience. I was like, look, I want to get even more experience, etc. So you should have a story and kind of build that story by doing different projects, work with different project leaders, MDPs, etc. So that's number one. And number two, I would say have people in your corner, right? Especially like your project management, more senior people, at least for BCG. When you want to have these transfers, you mentioned that it's fairly competitive. So you need people backing you up and sponsoring you and saying that, yes, like she would be a great fit to this office and these are her strengths, etc. So the number two is like having sponsors to support you on this journey.
And also a question on that. Would you need to have your sponsors specifically from your target office, or can it be a topic leader globally? Like how senior and how relevant those sponsors should be?
I would say the senior, the better, but the more, the merrier as well. So that's why I said work with as many different people as possible, because BCG is highly networked organization. People are quite connected through their practice areas or projects or extracurriculum activities. And so in my case, I had the local leadership fully supporting me, so my home office. I had MDPs, project leaders that I organically happened to work with from different offices. And so they also were like a voice from outside my home office. I also proactively reached out to like key MDPs or people in the decision making process about the transfers, and I proactively reached out to them. I told them my story and they did buy into my story and they saw my goals and my commitment. And even they who were part of like the office that I was applying for, like Stockholm office, even they were supporting me despite the fact that they actually never worked with me. So you should network quite a lot around this.
I really like this topic about that you need to network with people who are also part of the committee. I remember that I've personally gone through a process where I wanted to get on the payroll of the buy office, but it didn't work out when I first tried. And I remember that I've never networked with those people in the committee. So now in hindsight, I'm like, okay, maybe I should have done it, but that's a great tip. So then you've networked, you got the buy-in from all these, key stakeholders. Then how was the process like for you after that? I'm sure it still took some time, right?
Indeed. So there is, of course, like a formal process that you need to follow, and these are more like add-on to make sure that your application is strong. It's every quarter, so you apply and you select 3 offices that you would like to be transferred to, maximum 3. I remember like I've been interviewed, but those are not necessarily like hardcore case interviews because you're already working for BCG.
Sure.
The host office is trying to understand your motivations, whether you would make a good fit to the local office, etc. So it's like rounds of interviews, and then basically the transfer committee of every office is reviewing the profiles. And again, at the end of the day, we are running a business, right? So they try to optimize their business needs at the local level.
Of course.
Even to apply, you should be in really good standing in terms of performance. There's like a tenure criteria. Sometimes there's like local language requirements because we are in professional services business, right? So some markets do require that you speak the local language. I applied to 3 offices and they all assessed my application in parallel. So it's not like they wait for each other.
Interesting.
At least that's how I remember and how it was for my case. And yeah, but you indicate, okay, this is my first choice, second and third.
Sure. And whoever wants you the best, they just reach out to you and then they steal you from the other offices. Okay, so say that you granted the office transfer. Then how does the logistic look like for that? Like, is your payroll immediately moving to the other office, or is there like a transition period? How does that go about?
So a classical consulting answer, it depends. Because the thing is there are different types of transfer or mobility programs within BCG. So there's like a temporary transfer, permanent transfer. You can do transfer but work for like one of our clients. Like we have so many social impact clients that like our colleagues who are still employed by BCG, they go work for that organization for, let's say, 1 year. And I actually had lovely friends who were transferred from Tokyo office to London office, but they were not working for BCG, they were working for one of our clients.
That's interesting.
And so you have so many different mobility opportunities. And every mobility program has its own configuration. So like the compensation package, what type of benefits you get, etc. That's why I said the answer depends.
And the one that you secure was a permanent transfer, right? Not a temporary.
It was temporary.
Okay.
So temporary, usually it's up to 24 months. And I go for like 18 months. I knew already that I wanted to stay longer because, again, I just loved being exposed to different cultures. So I knew I would spend like at least 3 to 5 years abroad. And I did end up, now it has been more than 3 years. Yeah, so you can choose. And again, if what you prefer is matching the business needs of the local office, it's actually pretty straightforward.
I like the strategy as well. Maybe I'm just hypothesizing, but I would imagine that securing temporary transfer might be a little easier than a
Exactly.
permanent one. So you have a very soft landing.
Exactly.
And then you get to grow your network. And then if you can convert it to full-time later, it's probably going to be easier.
And actually, I was very open about this from day one. Like, I communicated both to my home and host office that I actually want a permanent transfer, and that was kind of the advice that I was given. Also, just purely because of the like documentation point of view, it is much easier if you go like and have like a working visa for just temporary duration. It's exactly how I kind of approached it, but then at the same time, yeah, I was very upfront about my intention. So
just something that came to my mind though. I remember that when I interviewed for BCG Istanbul office, one of the interviewers asked me like, "Hey, why do you want to join BCG?" Right? And then one of the things I said was that, okay, you know, the Istanbul office is in the same system as the back then it was Athens and Milan and Rome.
Yeah.
But then the interviewer made it clear that we are hiring you for our Istanbul needs, not for others. So my point for everyone out there is, yes, this is going to be one of the main value propositions of why you may want to join BCG or other top consulting firms, but you need to be a little bit careful during the actual interview stage to give that message to the interviewer. Now, going back to your story, you moved to Stockholm, and after this, you also moved to London. So do you want to also tell us a bit more about your motivation behind that transfer again, and was the process any different this time?
Sure. So it was actually different because I not only transferred from one office to another, but I also changed career track within BCG. I had amazing time in Stockholm office, and by the way, it's one of the best offices in terms of work-life balance, so I highly recommended it. It's a sizable office, but still kind of everyone. So yeah, I had a great time. At the same time, as I mentioned, I knew that I wanted to have a bit more work-life balance, I guess. First did like a project with the global DNI team. And I was like, yeah, this is my passion. I made the decision. And because that was an internal role and I wouldn't be a part of the consulting track anymore, with the internal roles, you have different hubs around the world, like any other organization. So we have it in London, some cities in India, some cities in Germany, US, etc. This role that I took with the global DNI team happens to be based in London. And at a personal level, I always wanted to live in London. So it was like a perfect match, if you like. That's how I transferred from Stockholm to London.
Brilliant. Unless there's anything else, I think that's a wrap.
Yeah, no, it was really great to reflect back on my journey. So I really enjoyed it.
Thank you
for
so
having
much.
me.
Of course, likewise. And thanks all for watching us. And if you like this video, please go ahead and like this video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so. And we're going to see you in the next video. Take care.